We finally made it to Italy in the League Lowdown, a favourite destination of any football manager that owned a TV in the 90s. This one will bring back memories of knee slides in the park yelling Galazzo at the top of your voice. This is a country with beauty everywhere you look. From the coastlines to the volcanic cities, from the landmarks to the waterways, where century-old traditions thrive, whether that be on the roads or in the fields, where the food is beautifully prepared, the wine is beautifully produced, and where the lifestyle is as beautiful as the art, the fashion, and the transport. But the real beauty of Italy is Calcio and the obsession with the beautiful game. So let's investigate the great clubs, from the Seven Sisters to the hidden gems, in the League Lowdown Guide to Italy. Welcome back to another League Lowdown. This time we're in what might possibly be my favourite country to play Football Manager in, and again, we've enlisted the help of the experts, and what an expert we've got this time. FM Custom Kits is one of the leading graphic designers in the FM community. We'll put links to his website as well as his social media platforms down below, and Lorenzo knows his Italian football, let me assure you. So, we've got so many teams to cover. Without further ado, let's take a look at the league system. Italy gives us 3 tiers to manage in Football Manager, and the top flight, known as Serie A, has 20 teams in it, creating a 38-game season. The team finishing top at the end of it win the Scudetto, or the Little Shield, giving them the right to wear a tricolour on their shirt for the next season to commemorate their victory. The teams below that are scrapping it out for the European places, and the bottom 3 are all relegated down to Italy's second tier, where the top 2 are promoted as of right. The team finishing third are also automatically promoted if they're finishing 14 points or more ahead of the team down in fourth. If the gap's smaller than that, well, then a playoff takes place with the teams from third down to 8th in the table. There's more playoff fun at the bottom of this league as well, where the bottom 3 teams are automatically relegated, as are the team in 17th if the team in 16th finishes 5 points or more ahead of them. If the gap is narrower than that, then those 2 teams have a play-out to see who's going to drop down to Italy's third tier, known as Serie C, which is split over 3 different divisions on a regional basis, with the top team in each of those divisions gaining automatic promotion, and then there's also a rather lengthy playoff for that other promotion place. So that's how the league structure works. We need to have a look at some of the clubs you could manage, starting with the old lady of Italian football. So let's start our tour at Italy's most successful club, Juventus, or as they're known in FM21 for licensing reasons, Zebra. In 2011, they moved from the Stadio delle Alpi to the Juventus Stadium, becoming one of the only clubs in the top flight to own their own stadium, giving them a huge commercial advantage over their rivals, which they've pressed home over the last 9 years by winning 9 Scudettos on the bounce. They're struggling to win a 10th this season, and in 2006 they actually experienced demotion down to Serie B due to their role in the Calciopoli match-fixing scandal, but more recently they have been the dominant force in Italian football. Look at their trophy cabinets, starting with 36 Serie A titles, a record for Italian clubs, 13 Italian Cups as well, but then they've got 2 Champions League or European Cup victories as well. The first in 1985 against Liverpool, marred by tragedy that one, despite Michel Platini scoring a penalty to win them that trophy. Beforehand, there had been many deaths as part of the Heysel Stadium disaster that led to English clubs being banned from European competition for the next 5 years. The next title was more happier in 1996. Again, penalties were involved when they defeated Ajax to win their second Champions League crown. They've also won the European Cup Winners' Cup as well, back in 1984, and 3 UEFA Cups, the last of which was won in 1993 against Dortmund, although Dortmund would get revenge in the European Cup final a few years later. Otherwise, Juventus could have had another one of those. They've also lost European Cup finals on penalties to rivals Milan, but you can see that this is a club that is awash with trophies and has pretty good facilities as well. Superb training facilities alongside excellent youth facilities, although the junior coaching is only adequate and the youth recruitment is only average, so there might be better clubs in Italy for a youth development save, but certainly if you like the idea of taking charge of the nation's most dominant team, well, Juventus are the club for you. But there are other members of the Seven Sisters that equally claim to be top European sides. Let's start our tour of San Siro clubs with AC Milan, who may only have won half of the Scudettos that Juventus have and have only won 5 Italian Cup titles as well. But their record in Europe is enviable, alongside 2 European Cup Winners' Cups and 5 European Super Cups and a World Club Championship as well. They've won the European Cup or Champions League on 7 different occasions, twice in the 60s, then under Arrigo Sacchi and with Dutch players like Gullit, Rijkaard and Van Basten in their ranks. They won it in 1989, beating Steaua Bucharest, again in 1990, beating Sven-Göran Eriksson's Benfica. They lost another final in 93 to Marseille before winning it again in 1994, beating Johan Cruyff's Barcelona, themselves winners 2 years previously, 4-0 in that final. The victories in 2003 and 2007 were significant as well. In 2003, they had an all-Italian final at Old Trafford, beating Juventus on penalties. And then in 2007, well, it was revenge by beating Liverpool, who'd beaten them in Istanbul a couple of years before. So you can see that this is a club that really has a huge pedigree and history in European competition. Look at the facilities they boast as well. Superb training facilities, excellent youth facilities, good academy coaching and excellent youth recruitment means that if you want to take charge of a top club that you could challenge Juventus with and win further European honours, AC Milan are definitely an interesting club for you to take charge of. But then they have their rivals, Internazionale. FC Inter have a similarly impressive domestic record to their Milan rivals. You'll see that they're both tied on 18 Scudetto titles, and they are tussling it out at the top of Serie A this season. If either of them claims that 19th Scudetto, it will give them bragging rights in the city. You'll see that Inter have actually won the Italian Cup more times than their Milan rivals, and they have got no shortage of European pedigree themselves. They've won the UEFA Cup 3 times in 91, 94 and 1998. They've also won a World Club Championship in 2010. And then they've also won the European Cup or Champions League 3 times, twice in the 60s. And then that 2010 victory, masterminded by Jose Mourinho, the team finished behind Barcelona in the group stages. But that was also the team they met in the semi-finals. Mourinho masterminded a victory over Guardiola's Barca and then beat Bayern Munich 2-0 in that final. If they're going to be the club that you take charge of, you'll see that they also have great facilities, superb training, excellent youth, good academy coaching, excellent youth recruitment. This is another club that you could guide to the top of Italian football and make a powerhouse in European competition. But we can step outside of Milan. Let's head down to the capital and have a look at the teams down there. Welcome to the Stadio Olimpico. The first club that plays there that we could look at are AS Roma, and just like their city neighbours Lazio, neither of these two clubs from the capital have as many trophies as either Juventus or the 2 Milan clubs, but they do have massive support bases and some pedigree when it comes to European competition as well. AS Roma have got 9 Italian Cups. They won the UEFA Cup in 1961, but they've only got 3 Scudettos, one of them in the 1940s, one in the 1980s, and then Fabio Capello's 2001 title where Francesco Totti was the team's talisman. AS Roma are a club that really should have far more trophies in their cabinet than they do. Maybe you are the manager that can take them to those new heights, or maybe you like the idea of taking charge of their fiercest rivals. And here is SS Lazio, familiar to fans of English football because this is the former club of Paul Gascoigne, and they are another club that should have way more Scudettos than they do. They do have 7 Italian Cups, but they've only won that Scudetto title twice, in 1974 and in 2000 when Sven-Göran Eriksson was the manager. They've also won a Cup Winners' Cup in the year before in 1999, a Pavel Nedved goal getting them a win against Real Mallorca, another victory achieved under the stewardship of Sven-Göran Eriksson. But this is another club with a massive supporter base, some great players in their history. They're just looking for a manager that can take them to the top of the national game. Maybe that's the kind of challenge that you're looking for in Football Manager. Let's keep heading south down into the shadows of Mount Vesuvius, where we will meet Napoli, a club synonymous with Argentinian legend Diego Armando Maradona. This is a club whose greatest honours came with Maradona in the side. They've won 6 Italian Cups, that 1987 victory achieved while Maradona was at the club. And they've also won 2 Scudetto titles in 87 and 1990, when not just Maradona, but a young Gianfranco Zola was on the scene as well. And they've also won the UEFA Cup, again during Maradona's time in 1989. This is perhaps the biggest club in southern Italy, a club again that really thinks itself big enough to have more domestic and European titles than it has managed to amass. They need a manager capable of leading them to another golden era in their history. That could be another epic challenge that you could embark on. But maybe you like the idea of taking charge of an upwardly mobile team that's yet to win their first Scudetto in northern Italy. Maybe Atalanta are the club that you could do that with. This is a team that's had back-to-back third-place finishes in Serie A and is well placed for another top 4 finish this campaign. And those finishes have led to some memorable European victories over the last couple of seasons as well. You'll see the only trophy that they've won is the 1963 Italian Cup. But this is a team that is certainly pushing for honours over the last couple of years. Maybe they just need a new manager at the helm that can steer them to glory. But Italy also has plenty of other clubs from big cities with great support bases and golden periods in their history. How about we head to Genoa and take a look at Sampdoria, who, around the time of the reign of legendary coach Vujadin Boskov, they were impressive not just in Italian competitions but European ones as well. During that period they won 4 Italian Cups, not all of them under Boskov, but with Boskov at the helm they managed to win the European Cup Winners' Cup in 1990, and then they managed to win the Scudetto in 1991. The next year they made it all the way to the European Cup final, where they played Johan Cruyff's Barcelona with the likes of Vialli and Mancini in their side. But after that defeat, the team broke up and they didn't quite manage to reach those heights again. Maybe you are the coach that can lead this club back to the top of Italian football. Or if we stay in the same city, in fact, if we stay in the same stadium, maybe you like the idea of taking charge of Genoa, who have actually won far more Serie A titles than their city neighbours. They've won the Italian Cup once, and you'll see that they've won the Serie A title on 9 different occasions. Granted, you're going back almost a century to find the last of them. This would definitely be a little bit more of a challenge taking charge of Genoa. They're a club that have spent time down in Serie B and even Serie C over the last couple of decades. But if you like the idea of taking one of those lower mid-table teams from a top division and making them a powerhouse in the domestic game, well, Genoa would provide you with just such a challenge. Or how about we seek out those iconic shirts of the Viola? Yes, let's head to Florence and look at Fiorentina again. another team that has been perennially towards the top of Serie A and again has had golden periods during its history. They've got 6 Italian Cups, they've got 2 Serie A titles, and they've also got a victory in Europe, winning the 1961 European Cup Winners' Cup. During the 90s, they were associated with Gabriel "Batigol" Batistuta, but they haven't had a striker quite on that level for a number of years. Maybe they need you to take charge of them and sign one and lead them to another Scudetto. Another Serie A club that's been waiting a long time for another trophy is Bologna, another team from a big city, and again another team that's had a glorious past. They've won the Italian Cup twice, and they've won the Serie A title on 7 different occasions, but no Scudetto since the 60s, no Italian Cup since the 70s. They are on a long, barren run, and they've dropped down to Serie B a couple of times over the last 2 decades as well. But if you like the idea of taking one of those more challenging teams and establishing them as a force against the bigger teams in the country, Bologna are another option for you. But anyone that followed Italian football in the 90s will be well aware of the exploits of Parma. Now this club may have spent time as low as Serie D in recent seasons because of financial collapse, but they are also a club that is a great cup team, even though they've yet to win an Italian Scudetto. They won the Italian Cup 3 times between 1992 and 2002, but have also won 3 European trophies, plus the European Super Cup in 1993, which they were entered into having won the European Cup Winners' Cup the season before. But those 2 UEFA Cup victories are important titles as well. The one in 1995 was achieved after beating Juventus in an all-Italian final. Parma had familiar names like Asprilla and Zola up front, while Juventus, they had players like Vialli, Ravanelli and Roberto Baggio in their side, but it was another Baggio, Dino Baggio, that got the winner for Parma on that occasion. They have had a troubling spell in their history over the last decade or so. Maybe you are the manager to bring the good times back to this dairy-producing town. But Italy also has some great sleeping giant challenges. We'll start with one in Serie A, and the club is Torino, who hail from the same city as Juventus, and for the early part of their history were the more successful team from this city. They've won 5 Italian Cups, they've won 7 Italian Serie A titles, and may well have gone on and won more, and maybe even European competitions as well, were it not for an air disaster in 1949, which killed all of the playing staff and management staff that were flying back from a friendly in Spain. You'll see that they'd won the title 5 times during the 1940s, and only that tragedy robbed them of potentially winning more. Maybe you're the person that could take charge and return them to the top of Italian football once more. The Sicilians from Palermo in their distinctive pink shirts. This is another club that's not won an Italian Cup or a Serie A title, but for much of this century, they've been finishing in the top half of Serie A. They've had players lining up in recent years, such as Luca Toni, Paulo Dybala, Edinson Cavani as well. If you like the idea of taking these islanders back to the top division and trying to win them their first trophy, well, what a challenge that could be. But staying in the 3rd tier, although heading a little bit further north to Piedmont, there's another club in Italy that have actually won the Italian title on plenty of occasions. This is Pro Vercelli, who've won 7 Serie A titles, although we're coming up to a centenary since they won the last of them. They've got a small little stadium. This is a club that would provide you with a much tougher challenge, but that's what some people are looking for in Football Manager. And if you like the idea of taking charge of one of those clubs that experienced greatness in years gone by and restoring them to their former glory, well, Pro Vercelli are an interesting challenge, but they're not the only interesting story Italy throws up. We'll have to head back to Serie A for our first story, and the club we are looking for are Spezia, notable because they're currently playing their first season in the top division, but also notable because of the little tricolour they wear on their kit. Now, during the Second World War, football was disrupted in Italy, and not all clubs took part in the national championship. Consequently, Spezia's 1944 Italian title is not recognised by the history books. However, they are allowed to wear this little tricolour on their shirts as some kind of recognition for their success in 1944, where at a finals tournament they actually beat the great Torino side of the 40s to become the national champions of Italy. If you like the idea of taking charge of a club, playing their inaugural season in the top flight and trying to get them the Scudetto that the history books have wiped, well, that's another challenge that you could look into. So that completes the League Lowdown Guide to Italy, a nation that offers you the opportunity to take charge of some of Europe's leading clubs or some sleeping giants that need a restoration project. We'll see you very soon when we make another country the focus of our next League Lowdown.